What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Collider Interview Studio at TIFF 2024 at the Cinema Center, brought to you by Range Rover Sport. I'm so excited to dig into Eden right now. Oh my. I'd done a little bit of homework going into your movie, but I kind of didn't realize the extremes that it was about to go to. So congratulations. The audience was pretty electric last night.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a great screening. Despite the events, somebody, we had a health crisis in the middle of the movie, and which was, troubling on a lot of levels. But then as a director, I was like, well, is that it? Are we going to lose the audience? And I was very grateful. The TIFF audience came back with focus, got right back into the movie, and we had a great screening.
Handled well, the person is safe, yes. And then people just got caught right back up in your film. So wins across the board. Ron, I have to start with the basic question, because clearly I know what your movie is, but because we're celebrating it at a film festival, our viewers might not know about Eden just yet. So can you do a brief synopsis?
Okay, well, I obviously don't want to give too much away because there are a lot of twists and turns. It starts off really as a survival thriller. And then it turns into something more psychologically dangerous. And, it turns out that these disparate groups who decided to go to the Galápagos separately to try to reinvent their lives, to go off the grid, and face that challenge. Well, it kind of turned out that, it's not Mother Nature that they needed to fear, it was human nature. And that's really, where the story comes from. I bumped into it in a museum on a visit in the Galápagos, and the events took place there, and it would not leave my mind. This was like 15 years ago, and I've been thinking about these characters who so different, kind of extreme, kind of wild, kind of unpredictable. And yet sort of what they put themselves through and what they went through was, I thought, so fascinating, entertaining, and memorable, and eventually got a tremendous cast to make it happen.
Oh, I am tapping into how perfect this cast needed to be and how perfect it is in a quick second. But one thing I had read a lot about going into this was how this movie would pose a lot of filmmaking firsts for you. So even with all of your experience in this industry, can you tell me something you did for the very first time as a director on Eden?
Oh, for the very first time. I staged more oneers. Now, these are not like inaratu, minutes upon minutes upon minutes, but for me, it was, and it had to do with the suspense. It was building a shot that would sort of just look kind of mundane, and then at a certain point, there'd be a jolt, there'd be a shock, not necessarily a horror shock, but a twist in the story that you would not have seen coming. And I don't think that from a staging standpoint, I'd ever sort of built suspense into a scene quite in that way, because it's not just where the story is going. It's not just the surprise. Everything that we did in this was about a performance moment, because so the psychology of what was going on was always, front and center. And in a way, being the magician that which a director needs to be, that's kind of the diversion. So you're watching the characters go through this kind of stress test, and then, wow, you didn't see what was coming next because you were so engrossed in them as human beings.
I love me a lengthy oneer. You use them quite well in this film.
Thanks.
Daniel, I wanted to come your way because you have an interesting journey with getting into this film, because I believe Ron first brought it up to you 10 years ago. Big two-part question about that. When it was first pitched to you, what part of this script intrigued you most? And I'm just curious, what intrigued you most about it when you jumped into it 10 years later?
Well, I was attracted on many levels. First of all, because, working with Ron on Rush was such an incredible pleasure that the fact that he wanted to work with me again was, a no-brainer for me. So, but then when you hear that from directors, it happens very often in my life that then you don't hear back from them, and they say, it's so great with you and we're going to do something else again. I say, yeah, okay. So, but then he really called me 10 years later. So
there's a little gap there.
Yeah. But funnily, back then, that was in 2013, it rang a bell and I thought hold on, another director that I'd worked with also wanted to do this film and was a German director that I shot Goodbye Lenin with me back in the days. So he gave me books, and I saw on the first page of these books made it to the Galápagos Islands, 1993. Some rotten copies of Georges Simenon's take on that tale, and another one. It might have been the one that Margaret Wittmer had written. And so I was mesmerized and fascinated by this story right away, especially being German. I thought like, what? This really happened? And then I remember that I checked out the documentary on YouTube. So that was before Ron, but then Ron mentioned it, that particular project. And I said like, what? Jesus, I would love to do it. And so it happened finally.
By the way, Hans Zimmer, who composed the music for this movie, told me as we were working on the score that early in his life, he'd gotten to know Nicholas Roeg, and had worked with Nicholas Roeg. And Nicholas Roeg was very interested in this story, and he never got to the point of having a screenplay. But look, it's classic. It's such a fascinating set of characters, and they are so outrageous that it really is stranger than fiction. And we needed actors who were willing to go to that place. And I'm kind of looking at you on at Armas.
The reaction to your performance last night is one of my favorite like communal experiences seeing a movie on the big screen.
Don't give it away.
I don't give anything away, but it felt very special and right to be a part of that. I have many follow-ups now for the three of you. So again, I said this a little earlier. It feels to me like a movie like this does not work without the pitch perfect cast. I think you found it here. Can you each tell me the first moment you kind of stopped and said to yourself, whether it was in prep or on set, like, I am with the right people. We are going to be able to make the most of this material together.
For sure. I mean, we did have the privilege to have about full 2 weeks of rehearsals. And the setup was pretty amazing. Even though it was like 3 different families or groups, we all rehearsed together and everyone was present when the other group was rehearsing. So it was kind of like a very, I think it helped for everyone in getting the tone, in getting the energy of the other group, and kind of like understanding each other. I guess the accent, the weirdness, the kind of like measuring each other, the level of eccentricity and craziness and like all of that. It was for me like doing the table reads, which we did like a few of them, and spending so much time together every day, rehearsing with the animals, rehearsing with, all of it we did together. And that was kind of like it was good to see each other finding what we wanted to do.
Should include the animal actors in my ensemble question because they are wonderful as well. How about for the two of you, a specific moment at the beginning where you said, we are the right group?
I mean, I think I agree with the rehearsal process. You really saw everybody show up and then we were able to feel each other out on the accent and the performances. But I think especially when we filmed the lunch scene, when all of us were together, there was just so many unwritten nuances that came out amongst all the different characters that I think that's when I really was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy. This is so incredible. We're working with such an amazing group of talent. And I really just felt it come to life in that scene.
It's an electric scene in the movie. How about for you, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, we needed each other. It's like the characters needed, and we got along better than the characters in the movie. Thank God.
I'm glad to hear that.
But nobody felt at home. We were shooting in a remote place. And it was hot and sticky and feverish, and it was exhausting. So we needed each other's company, and I remember we also had a great time when Anna was cooking for us, or you and your lovely husband or partner, sorry. And so we and there was that mutual interest, and it's another quality to the film that it's such an eclectic mix, because there's Cuba, there's America, there's Germany, Austria, England. You have all these different cultures, and there was a mutual curiosity in each other, which made it very interesting on a personal level to work on this project. So yes, on the very last day, I realized this was a good gang.
What a wonderful last day.
Way before it.
Great day. The personal quality adds a nice extra layer to it.
Well, actually, you're kind of right. The last day was the last scene. Well, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a really intense scene to
It
say
was
goodbye to the shoot.
Every day was intense. Look, we were working on a tight schedule. It was very dense in terms of the what the characters had to do, because you saw the movie. There's without giving too much away. The tone shifts and it's all very organic. But by going to the places that these actual people had gone psychologically and emotionally, when you watch it, sometimes it's outrageous, it's funny, sometimes it's horrifying, sometimes it's a little heartbreaking, and I hope it creates suspense. Well, they were having to mine that and find that tone in the scenes, every day. And sometimes one scene would lead one way, and that's what we'd be shooting in the morning, and in the afternoon it would be something else, altogether. So I love working with actors on complicated scenes. But even I felt like it was kind of a tightrope walk, all the time. And plus, we had we had no cover sets. We were shooting outside. We had no studio. There were no. I mean, we would get occasionally stormed out because we hit a stretch of really bad weather, and the only way to make it up was to work really hard and really fast. And these guys and the rest of the ensemble really lived up to that filmmaking challenge as well.
You go all in every single respect. I had written down this quote from Ron talking about all of you. He wanted risk takers for these roles. So non-spoiler, of course, but can each of you tell me a risk you took while making this film that, will pave the way to even bigger things for you in the future because you did it here?
Well, being the embodiment of perfection was very risky.
That's her character's mantra. That's her character's mantra, to keep yourself going.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing for me was terrifying. I remember being on the phone with Ron and finally like, okay, you're going to do this? Yes, I'm going to do this. And hanging up, very excited, and 20 minutes later, call him back and like having doubts, like we're feeling scared. Like I just didn't know I had made the right decision or I was the right person for it. And I was like, just think about it again. Maybe you want someone else. But then, you for me, that's what it's all about, That's what I find interesting and fulfilling and exciting and if it's not that, I don't want it. It's what makes me enjoy every day at work. That's what it makes it not feel work.
And I just do have to add with Anna, it's easy to forget this because she's so fluent in English now, but it's not her first language, and she's doing an accent that is basically invented. Because her character is somebody who, like some very theatrical, bigger than life people, kind of invent their persona, and that's what her character has done. And so, from a creative standpoint, it's like it's all art. It's like every step of the way, and she met the challenge.
Yeah, I think definitely that was one of the biggest challenges. Like Eloise creating the Baroness, it had to be so eccentric and crazy, and it was an invention, but it had to be up there, but also still believable for the other people to even consider this woman was saying something truthful. But she gets so entangled in her own story that she actually gets to believe it sometimes. And it's heartbreaking, but she's very fragile and like childish sometimes, and you can see she's lonely, and she's very vain and loves love and beauty and all that, and then it's terrifying. Like this woman is scary sometimes, and it was about finding that the two extremes and that balance of being believable in her lie.
Seeing those little qualities you just named pop through is what grounds her, and it's what, for me at least as a viewer, based all of her actions, as extreme as they were, in some sort of consistent truth that I believed in.
Yeah.
How about for the two of you, an example of a time when you were more fearless on this set than you ever have been before as an actor?
I mean, Daniel was building The set. That was really cool.
I was very impressed by that.
Building the set. All the work that you saw us do, we were actually
Milking the cow.
I didn't build this morning.
You did a wonderful job. Thank you for this.
I did take the risk to confront my snake phobia. Because God, there was some scary moments, you know. In the middle of a take, a very friendly gentleman would show up out of nowhere and tell you to stop with some long scissors and to step away. And I mean, I have to say, in Australia, I mean, they have all these poisonous creatures, and we were dealing with snakes every now and then.
We had snake wranglers, and Daniel just called them scissors. No snakes were harmed, but a lot. But a lot were caught. You know,
Daniel, what are you doing?
For what it's worth, I pictured the right thing.
Australians are nice.
Sydney, how about for you to take us home on this one?
You know, I felt like I just had imposter syndrome the whole time I was there, working with Daniel and Jude and Anna and Vanessa and Ron. I every day I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm here. Am I supposed to be here? Did they make a mistake? Am I the wrong person? So for me, it was just, I was nervous. I faced a lot of fears just even being there because everyone is such amazing actors, and it's like, what am I doing?
Nerves come from a place of being passionate and caring. And that's what I always hold tight to. And also just because I won't be able to bring this up because we don't have enough time. And I said it to you before. You have two of the most epic birth scenes I've ever seen in my entire life on screen in a single calendar year. That's like, you crush those scenes. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, I have to ask about some upcoming projects. I'll go to you first, Sydney, with the one you know I'm going to ask about because our viewers are rabid for Euphoria. And there's one particular performance challenge that I'm curious about because there's obviously a longer wait for you as an actor between making season 2 and 3. And you've accomplished so much in that period of time. So are there any particular skills you've gained in that period that you're especially excited to apply to Cassie?
That's a really good question. You know, whenever I'm on set and different sets, I think the most that I learn is from the crew and how different departments need different things, and just being able to use that and making sure that everybody has what they need and their tools that they need to be able to move forward. So I think with Euphoria especially, just making sure that everybody can give their 100%. I'm really excited. I can't wait. I don't really have anything to say, but I'm really excited.
Always thinking with the producer mentality. I like that. You know, I want more of that from you as well. Anna, you'll get my next one because our viewers and readers are also massive John Wick fans, and you have Ballerina coming up, and someone was just telling me that you did additional photography, and that involved Chad Stahelski, which is like so cool. You get the person who directed the first film in that franchise in there with you. So by working with him, is there any new layer of that movie that you were able to unlock?
Oh my gosh, I love Chad. And I have to say, every time they say you have reshoots, it's not good. You don't feel good about it.
It's an important part of the process.
But I really have to say, he was so right about it. It was all we did in those reshoots had to be there. We got amazing footage. It's really spectacular, and a trailer is coming out soon, I've been told. I saw it, and it's beautiful. I'm very proud of it. It's really exciting. It's dangerous. It's sexy. It's very John Wick, and I think people's gonna be surprised. And I don't know. I'm biased, of course. I like the movie.
As you should be.
Yeah, but I think it's really, really cool. It's going to be amazing.
Rock solid tease. That makes me very hyped. Also, one of my greatest missions in this line of work is to demystify reshoots and additional photography.
I have to say, I was finishing Eden, and we started the reshoots like 2 weeks later. So that was a big switch mentally and physically to get back to that.
Weren't you beginning to do fight training and physical stuff even while you were on location?
It was really like full on, like right away. It was hard. It was a hard switch, but yeah, it was great.
Glad you made the switch, because that means we get more of you. We get lots of all of you, because you're super busy delivering really complex stuff that keeps me stimulated as a moviegoer. So thank you for spending some time with us, sharing some of your experience making Eden with us, and huge congratulations on the movie.
Thank you
very much. Great
Thank
talking
you
to
so
you.
much.